Okay, good morning all.
Morning, sir.
Okay, we will start the lecture today. So this is the last lecture before we head to midterm periods next week. And for this class, the exam would be you have to submit an assignment. Okay. Your exam is scheduled for the Saturday, October the 24th, between 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. Sorry, no, yeah, this is 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. Okay, so I already set up. Let me share the screen. Okay, so already you can see. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So I already set up a place in kuliah site where you can submit your midterm report. So each group only need to submit one report. And what the report consists, you need to create a list of all your system's requirements. And you should explain the reason why the requirements are listed. For example, the system should be able to receive input using mobile phone. That's one requirement. Okay, so you need to explain why did you put the requirement of accepting input from mobile phone, or the system should be able to create daily report of sales. You should explain why did you put that. Okay, so as many as you can think of the requirement of your system. Okay, so the deadline would be Saturday, October 24th, 3:30 p.m. Okay, so you still have like 12 days to work on it. I already told you this, so hopefully there will be no obstruction or there will be no disturbance from kuliah side. However, just in case there will be a disturbance in kuliah side, just like last semester, please let me know immediately through Microsoft Teams, and I'll arrange something to replace kuliah site. But for now, I'll use kuliah site for this midterm report submission. Okay, any question? So the midterm exam will be your assignment, your project throughout the semester. So it should not be deviate, or it should not be creating new problem because you already work on that project anyway. Any questions about midterm exam?
No, sir.
Only one that don't have problem with it? Okay. It's clear, everybody? Arya, Evangeline, Kevin, Andrikus, Livia, Maria, Stephen,
Yes,
Kenji,
sir.
Yeshua?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so so there is it. Okay, please submit your answer. Now, I'm going to give you some example on the industry standard. Okay, on how the requirement being expressed. or being written. Okay, so there are no firm standard on how requirements should be presented or should be recorded or should be written. Okay, there are no specific guidance or rules. A lot of people using different type of document to present requirements. Somebody probably just write it down on a piece of paper. Somebody creating complete documents with diagram and everything. Okay, so the document to record the requirements, if you can see the website, can you see the website that I display?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So
Yes,
this is
sir.
discussing sorry, discussing a document called software requirement specification. This is the official name of a document to have your software requirement being written. So it's called SRS, or software requirement specification. Sometimes in Indonesia, many companies use software design document, which is similar actually, or system design document. So this is the table of content of SRS documents. Okay. They have introduction, overall description, system features, or it's called functional requirement. Functional requirement is the features of the system that show certain function, like for example, producing a report, okay, accepting input from mobile phone, providing feedback to customer. That's a functional to show a function. There are also other requirements which is not obviously as a function, as obvious as a function, but it's there, and you probably won't be able to see this non-functional requirement. It's called non-functional requirement in action. With functional requirement, you can see it in action, like producing report, giving you feedback, displaying the amount, things like that. But with functional and non-functional requirement, you probably won't see it, but you definitely can feel it. For example, non-functional requirement is security requirements. Okay, like nobody except authorized user can use the system. If you are an authorized user, you will be able to use the system. And if you are not a user of that system, you won't be able. So this is non-functional because you can't see it in action. Okay. Other, for example, quality. The system should be available 24 hours a day. Again, it's very hard to see this in action. You have to actually look at the system 24 hours to see whether or not the system is available 24 hours a day. So that's the requirement. So there are two different requirements, functional and non-functional. With your midterm report, I would ask I would ask functional requirement to be listed. Okay. We set aside for the non-functional for other times, but now for your midterm report, I would like to ask you to write down, list all the functional requirements in your system. Okay. So this is just examples. Like again, you will use diagram to show. Okay, so for examples, this is the functional requirement. The customer, make it bigger. The customer should be able to do the following functions. See, they use a specific word function. Let me close this first. Okay. The customer should be able to do the following function. Make a new reservation. This is a function. Okay. For one-way trip, round trip, multi-city, flexible date time, confirmation, etc. Okay, cancel existing review his itinerary. Okay, this is from the customer's perspective. The employee should have following management functionality. Again, functions. Customer function, get all customers who have seat reserved on a given flight, get all flights for given airport, things like that. This is administrative, again, function, add delete flight at new airport, so on and so forth. Okay. I'll show you the examples of non-functional requirement. Okay. See, this is the non-functional requirement. For example, they require the database to be drawn with ER diagram. The database should be normalized. Okay, so the database will have to go through normalization process. Both of these non-functional requirements won't be accessible by ordinary user. So if you use the application here, which is a flight reservation system, you as user will not see this because it's already being done behind the scene. Okay. Safety requirement. This is what if the system being damaged or destroyed. Okay. What should be done? What kind of backup should be available? Security, for example. So see, here this is the specific. The requirement of the security market means that the vendor must choose their database partner carefully about choosing the product. Again, you as user will not see the product. A good database would be transparent to user. It means the user will not know what database being used by the system. Is it Microsoft Access? Is it MySQL? Is it PostgreSQL? Is it Oracle? Is it Microsoft product? Nobody knows. And that's the best kind of security for database brand. Okay, so this is the quality attributes: availability, correctness, maintainability, usability. Most of the time you will not see this in action. Okay, you probably can guess that there is something wrong when the system having problem, or you make so that if you make a reservation and there is an error or there is a mistake, you probably can see it, the quality. But as long as everything went smooth, nothing's wrong, then you won't be able to see these attributes in action. Okay. You just know that the system is good, you can make reservation, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's one sample of requirements. I said that there are no standard. You probably see this. Sorry. So this is another requirements examples. Although there is no standard that being proposed, I mean, you can just write down the requirement as you like, as long as you as the maker or the developer of the system and the stakeholder can understand it, that's fine. However, in practice, in many, especially in the US, if you want to apply for a project for the US government, the US government usually have a standard on how the requirement being written, and the majority of standard being used by the US government and then followed by other company because it's convenient is the standard released by the Department of Defense, or it's called DoD. So so this is the standard. So if you can see it here, the DoD standard, this is from the United States Department of Defense. There is standards on how to express requirements. This is one of the examples using the DoD standard. Again, this is another examples of requirements, type examples, user stakeholder add new customer account, view order history, check order status. So this functional. Okay. Yeah. That's how to present your requirements. That's why I specified in the assignment that you should put the assignment as a list. Okay, so and I suggest you to show the requirement based on who used the system. For example, the inventory for the local fast food restaurant. Okay, if the managers want to see it, want to access the system, what function should available to managers? And then if the employee, say the cook, want to see the inventory system, what kind of information available to him, or what kind of functionality available to the cook, okay, and so on and so forth. So yes, you can do that in a list, and I suggest you to make the list based on who used the system, what functionality available to you. For example, let's discuss the class registration system. With your class registration system, there are certain functionality that available to you. First, for example, you can see your academic transcript, right? You can see all the courses that you have been taken, their grades, your GPA, and then you can register or enroll to a class. You can cancel your registration to a class. You can see the information about the class, like the code, the prerequisite, who's the lecturer, things like that. You can see the capacity. You can see the total capacity, how many seats left in the class, etc. But you cannot add new class. You cannot cancel an existing class. You can cancel your enrollment or registration to a class that you already registered, but you cannot add new class. You can cancel the existing class. Okay, you can only make action on your own account, not the others. Okay. For the head of department, Buanas, for example, there are functions to add new classes or to cancel an existing classes. Okay, but Bu Anas couldn't see. Oh, sorry. Bu Anas could see how many seats left in a class. Bu Anas could add more seats in a class, expand the capacity, or even change the capacity. She could expand the class, or she could reduce the capacity of a class. That's from head of department perspective, okay. And so on and so forth. The university will not have direct access to class registration system, but they will receive information. This is for financial office. From the class registration system, the functionality that is available is the report on how many credits a student enrolled in any semester, and then it will determine the variable tuition fee for that particular students. Okay, so that's functionality. Okay. Ken. Any question? Anything that need to be clarified?
yet, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you for responding to my question. You know, it's very hard to teach remotely because I could not see your face. I could not see your reaction to whatever I said to the class. So I need to ask this question from time to time. Okay, so if that's causing inconvenience, I'm sorry. But if we are in the physical class, I can see your face, I can see your gesture, so I can adjust my explanation based on that. Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you all have your own smartphone? Mic, and we can have discussion, please.
Sorry, sir. We cannot hear your voice because of your connection before.
Okay, let me change connection then.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you hear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, now, okay. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so, okay. Well, yeah, that's another drawback of using remote. Okay, so I believe you have your own mobile phone, smartphone, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Livia,
Yes, sir.
what's your smartphone? The brand of your
I
smartphone?
iPhone.
Oppo F1. Okay. Are you happy with it?
My brand is Samsung, sir.
Oh, Samsung F1. Okay, sorry.
Um,
Are you happy with your mobile phone?
yes.
Okay, is there anything that you want to change from that mobile phone?
Uh,
Cost doesn't matter.
no, I think it's already complete.
Okay. Don't you wish better camera? Don't you wish better screen? Don't you wish larger storage? Something like that?
Oh yeah, I need better camera.
Okay. Okay, good. So, what kind? Do you know that? As far as you know, is Samsung have something, some smartphone that has better camera than yours? Similar other specs, but better camera?
For Samsung product,
Yeah. Mhm.
uh,
Something that
yeah,
better than your mobile phone.
yeah, Samsung has already better camera in Samsung Note
Okay.
10
Okay. So why don't you buy Samsung Note 10?
because my phone is still better and Note 10 is too expensive for me.
Okay, good. Good. Okay. Let's try another. Arya, Diyardana.
Yes, sir.
What's your mobile phone?
Apple iPhone,
Which version?
iPhone 7.
Okay. You know iPhone 7 is a few years behind the current iPhone, right?
Yes,
11.
it released in 2016, I guess.
Okay, so it's 4 years old now.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to? How many gigabytes of storage do you have there?
128 gigs.
Okay. Is it enough?
Yes, because I use iCloud. I
Okay.
subscribe to the iCloud.
Okay. Okay. You subscribe to iCloud. Extra money. That's fine. Well, yeah, that's okay. So anything you want to change from your mobile phone, Arya?
My main issue is about the battery, I guess, because the battery is too small for one day use.
Okay. So you wish your iPhone 7 had bigger battery.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay.
Now, from my discussion with Arya and Livia, you can see that even though you're happy with your current gadget, with your smartphone or whatever, if you look at the details, you probably found some features or some functionality or some facilities that you wish were better. Livia wish for better camera, Arya wish for bigger battery, things like that. Okay, and that's normal. Even when later Apple release the iPhone 12, for example, some of you that are happy with Apple product probably will line up and buy one. Okay, and when you use it, you probably mostly happy. I said mostly because there will be a chance that a small part of that mobile phone probably will not satisfy. Okay. Let me show you this. I don't like iPhone. I don't like. I like Apple product that I like my iPad Air, but it was I think it's 5 or 4 years old now. So like Arya, it has problem with batteries. If I use it for 2 hours, then it will need recharge. I used to have MacBook Pro, but since a lot of software that I frequently use unavailable at MacBook Pro, and that's create a lot of problem for me. For example, Microsoft Access. No Microsoft Access for MacBook. Visio, no Visio for MacBook. Yes, there is some alternative, but it's just horrible. Okay. Even Microsoft Excel, if you use Microsoft Excel extensively, like I did, the Mac version of Microsoft Excel is not as good as the Windows version. Okay, I don't know whether that's Microsoft strategy, but that's just a fact. Yeah. Okay, now for mobile phone, I have been of Android for quite some time. I never tempted to buy any iPhone. I've tried a few times and I don't like it for some reasons. I don't blame you to have, if you like iPhone, that's fine. My daughter loves her iPhone. But I just don't see how. My mobile phone, the most favorite Android phone that have been using since 2013, the best mobile phone, the best Android phone that I ever use is usually released by Google. I was using Nexus 4 and Nexus 5, okay, and both devices never had any technical problem. I use it until it's no longer supported by Google, and I changed the mobile phone, not because it's broken, but it's because it's just too slow for me. Okay. Now, and then Google's released their Pixel series, which was good. Now, when I saw the latest Google phone, which is Google Pixel 5, as you can see here, you can see the spec, right? You can see the picture, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
So if you see the network is already have 5G, which is good. Okay, and see the 5G is quite extensive. The dimension is okay. The screen is not as good as Samsung one, but it's okay. It has the latest Android, which is 11. Okay, the beauty or the advantage of using Google's phone is it will have the latest Android version. Okay. So it always has the latest Android version. My problem is two. First, only 128 gigabyte of storage. This is okay, but my current phone has 512 gigabyte of storage. This is half of my laptop storage. So I need a lot of things because I usually download a lot of them. You probably won't see it, but when you send your mini assignment, I download it into my phone and open it. Okay, so I reply and comment on your mini assignment using my mobile phone rather than my laptop. So I need a lot of storage. Doesn't have any external storage. This is usually the Android advantage over iPhone. Yeah. And my next complaint about this is where is it? This one. Google decided to use Snapdragon 765G as the processor or as the chipset, the processor. Why? Why I have the problem with this? Because usually Pixel using the top chipset. In this case, it should be the Snapdragon 800 series rather than 700 series. With 700 series, it puts Pixel in the middle class, while if they use 800 series, it will put Pixel on the top class. Okay. But that's my problem. Okay. So as you can see, even though I like Pixel or Google's phone, I have problem with their latest phone, which is only no external storage, and also they have mediocre processing power. It's probably good because Google will optimize the software on that, but I don't really like it. I hope my mobile phone can have the latest chipset if I want to buy one. Now, why? That's the question. Why? Is Google poor enough to release the best mobile phone with the best specification? No. Google phone, Pixel and Nexus in the past was made by Google not for profit. They don't want to make a profit out of their mobile phone. Google phone usually release as an example of how Android phone should be. So it's just like a reference. Okay. So this is how Android should look like. That's the purpose of Google phone. So I don't think there is a problem with Google splurging with the latest and highest spec in that matter. Okay, because they don't after profit. and it's not produce many enough. I mean, Google will not try to dominate phone market by selling as many Google phone as possible. Why? Because they have Android partner like Samsung, LG, Motorola, okay, Nokia. If Google release hardware, they will be in direct competition with Samsung and everybody else, and that can create a problem. Okay. No, Google just released a limited number of pixels for reference. So why? Why Google just use mediocre chipset, mediocre processor for their mobile phone? And why they have only released 128 gigabyte version? Or why, in case of Livia, Samsung decided to give Livia's phone so-so camera? Or why Arya, for example, have his iPhone only small battery, smaller than what Arya's need? Okay. And that's problem with requirements. Okay, if you look at requirement, and if you remember your introduction to economics course, okay, economics is a study of how we as humans behave in order to fulfill our unlimited wants and needs with limited resources. So you want money, you want clothes, you want gadgets, you want car, housing, you have a lot of wants and needs, but you only have limited resources to fulfill that. So you need to make priority and fulfill the most important needs first before fulfilling the other needs. Okay, that's basic economy. So with requirements, this limitation also apply. You probably will see it later when you create the list of your requirements, that there are probably a lot of requirements of a software or a system. Okay, thousands and thousands of them if it's a software, commercial software. Okay, take a look at Microsoft Word, for example. Who use Microsoft? A lot of people use Microsoft Word. Students who want to write their report or write their thesis, ordinary employee to write reports, writer who want to write articles or novel or books. Okay, different people with different needs and obviously different requirements. And then Microsoft has to accommodate this vast difference of requirements. This is okay. However, with thousands and thousands of requirements, even Microsoft or Google or Facebook, Twitter, all those big companies, they only have limited resources to fulfill that requirements. And even though they have all the resources to fulfill their requirements, they only have limited time to create or to fulfill that requirement. So there's on one side there are unlimited requirements, and on the other side there will be limited time, money, and people. And that's some things the system developer have to deal with. Okay. Many stakeholders will come up with many requirements, but not all those requirements can be fulfilled. Or not all requirement will be translated into a working system. Okay. Now, how we decided which requirement? Okay. There are plenty of methods, but my favorite method is called the Moscow rule. Moscow is a little bit of acronym M, which is must have. This is a requirement that should be on the system, otherwise the system won't work. And then could have requirement, must, the C, could have requirement, must, should have. So must have, should have. Should have is a requirement that the important is slightly less than must, but it has to be there. It has to be made into the, because with should, must and should, with should, if you cannot create should have requirements into reality, the software that you made will be, well, unbearable. Okay. And then there are could have requirement. Could have requirement means that requirements that should, well, if we still have money, resources, and time, then yes, this could have requirement could be built into the system. But if there is no resources left, no more time available, then could have should be abandoned. Just wait for next version or next year or next time. Okay. Want to have the last one, Moscow, the W at the last one, the want to have is all the requirement that will not be built because it's just something that somebody wants for his or her convenience, but it's not technically significant for the system. So it's just for fun or something like that. Okay, so that must go. However, the problem is different stakeholder will have different view. For developer must have requirement will be different from the user, will be different from the management, will be different from the stockholder, will be different from the customer. So what requirement it must have, what requirements could have, what requirements should have, and what requirements want to have will be different. How? Okay. That's this is the compromise part. If you remember our first lecture, I said that most of the time system analysts will deal with non-technical problem, and this is the non-technical problem. Okay, how to convince that this requirement is a must-have to all the stakeholders. For example, in PNPM Mandiri Perdesaan system, okay, the Ministry of Home Affairs asking the system could handle data at village level, while the World Bank, the sponsor of PNPM program, demanded that it's only up to sub-district level, which is kecamatan. So World Bank wants kecamatan, Ministry of Home Affairs wants village. Okay, and both have compelling argument. And that's exactly one of the things that make the project stall at that time. So the developer could not find how to compromise between the World Bank side and Ministry of Home Affairs side. So, and that's when I joined the project. So after a careful discussion with many stakeholders, many sides, we decided on a compromise. What's the compromise? It's easy. The developer will build the system to the village level, just like what the government of Indonesia asked, Ministry of Home Affairs. However, we will lock the village and only activate it up until the sub-district or kecamatan level. So the village is there, but it's not activated. Why the government of Indonesia want to activate the system until village level? Because at that time they still working on the bill for village or undang-undang desa. It's still on the process in Parliament DPR. It's not yet being along at the time. Okay. But they prepare for it. World Bank doesn't really care about it. They only care about what's in it. What's at that time was the immediate problem, which is sub-district. Okay. So they only focus on sub-district. So that's a compromise. Okay. Now, in typical company, let me see if I can use. Okay, let me share you the PowerPoint. Okay. Can you see it? Can you see the screen? The PowerPoint screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in a typical company, software company, for example, system company, there are three different voices, if you like. So it's like having three-way seesaw, you know, jungkat-jungkit in bahasa. So in one case, this is the customer voice. What the customer want? As many requirements as possible, as fast as possible. Okay, they want 1 million requirements yesterday. Okay, so 1,000. For example, they want this 1,000 requirement being done in 6 months. Okay, that's one side. The other side is the developers. They have 6 months, but in 6 months they can only make 750, not 1,000. Okay, if they want 1,000, they probably need 8 months, not 6 months, or even 9 months. Okay. So what happened if you have this? And the other axis would be the finance. We only have money for 6 months and 1,000 requirement, and also if it's not released in 6 months, the company will losing money. Why? Because their competitor will release something in 7 months. Okay, and that if the competitor release new version in 7 months, while we don't have the new version by 6 months, the customer will move to competitor's product. So how to overcome this? Compromise, that's the first thing. Can we add more developer, for example? Yes, we could add developers here. We could add developer here. So in 6 months, not only they can increase the capacity from 750 requirements to probably 1,000 requirements. Yes, we could add more developers, but there will be a problem. What? First, here, finance. Adding new developer mean more cost. Finance doesn't have that. No more developers. That's the first problem. Second, adding new developer means you add somebody new to the project. And that guy has to learn everything fast without making any mistake. And that could be a problem. Adding new person to a project will not make that project finish faster. It will make it slower because the new developers have to learn new things. They have to learn how to work in a new teams. They have to, create a team building spirit, things like that. Okay, and that takes time. Okay. So what's the solution? There is no single solution in reality, but this is what usually happens. Okay, I will negotiate. If I was the project manager for this, I will negotiate with customer, usually being represented by marketing. I will negotiate with the marketing. Okay, no, we cannot have 1,000 in 6 months. We can only have 750 in 6 months. Okay, so they need to create a priority, which from this 1,000 will be built. And I will ask the developer to increase. Probably. How about this? Instead of 1,000 in 6 months, what if we can release something in 5 months with 700? Okay, so 5 months. Okay, so the company will have some new product. Okay, in 5 months, and after that, in another 5 months, we release another version with 700. So in a time less than a year, we will have 2 new versions of products. And obviously, 5 months is 2 months before our competitor releasing their products. Okay, so when we have this 5 months, when we have this 5 months with 700 new versions can be released, so the customer will buy our product and there will be new money coming in. Then we can ask to add developer here. So in another 5 months or perhaps 6 months, instead of 1,000, we can build something with 1,100 requirements. Okay, so that's the compromise, and that's the problem that usually being faced by any company. Okay, in one hand, there is a demand from customer on unlimited features and requirements. On the other hand, there are limited time and developers resources and also limited money to work on that project. Okay. So we need to prioritize which one should be built first with Moscow rules that I already explained to you. Okay, that's how you manage requirements. Another issue with requirements, and you might see this, I don't know whether you will see this, but requirements are changing. What's needed now might not be needed next year. Okay, so the longer the project being carried out, the bigger the chance that the requirement will be different. Okay. If you build system for taxation, for example, you build now and in a year it hasn't finished, the government will already release new taxation rules that will render your system useless because the rules will change. Okay. That's problem. Requirements also always change because business is changing all the time. That's why the longer the system being built, the bigger the risk that the final system will not be fulfilling the current needs. Okay. That's why a lot of companies nowadays using agile methods. Why? Because with agile methods you can work 2 months, 8 weeks to finish a small project. just small, to fulfill a small set of requirements. Say, for example, you have 1,000 requirements, and you can work 100 requirements every 2 months. Okay, that's fine. You've worked on the most important requirement, 100 most important requirement for 2 months, and after 2 months, apparently, the rest of 900 are useless because they change. You have now 800 new requirements. That's fine. Work on 100 more for another 2 months. With agiles like Scrum or Extreme Programming or Crystal methods, you work 2 months to work on a small subset of system, and if the big system requirement change, that's fine. You just divided that big requirement into smaller requirements and work that on 2 months basis. Okay, so that's how companies like Facebook, Google, Twitter, Netflix nowadays building their system. So they divided the bigger system into smaller chunk, and that those small chunk will be developed by a small team in 2 months. What if after 2 months it's out of date? That's fine. It's just small part of the system, not the bigger system. Okay, any question? Anything need to be clarified?
No, sir. I think no, sir.
Okay. Okay. So I think that's it for today. You can continue your preparation for other lectures or midterm exam, and I already left you with your midterm report. You are free to ask questions from now until the deadline. Okay. If you have any question about your assignment or the lecture in general, just drop notes or your question to using Microsoft Teams or email. Okay, both are fine, but Microsoft Teams is much more convenient. Okay, so if you have any question about your assignment, just let me know. Use Microsoft Teams to communicate. Otherwise, you can use email. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so that's it
Yes,
for today. Okay, thank you for attending today's lecture. Good luck with your midterm exams, and see you after the midterm exam. Keep safe and keep healthy.